What's going on, everybody? Welcome in to a special edition of Blazers Uprise Live. I've been saying that a lot lately, but we still got free agency coverage for you tonight. Soon we'll have Summer League games. Looking forward to that. And soon we'll have Eric Brandt joining the stream. He'll be here in about 20 minutes or so to break down the latest across the NBA. Shout out to you if you tuned in for either of our streams last night. I had a solo stream. I talked about the Damian Lillard situation and how I think the Portland Trail Blazers should make an effort to bring Dame home just for a one-year deal and buy him out if he wants to at the deadline, if he wants to go ring chasing and if his rehab goes well. Shout out to you who were there for that. And then we had an episode of Hoops Crush as those guys went into the Dame situation, the possibility of bringing him back. He's still a free agent today, and there was actually a report today from Chris Haynes that we'll talk about. And we'll also talk about a Blazers player that has a new destination. It's Jabari Walker as he signs with the 76ers, and surprisingly, it's on a two-way contract. A two-way contract. So the Blazers, obviously, had no interest in bringing Jabari Walker back on a normal contract. He has to settle for a two-way in what is probably a good situation for him. So I'll break that down, and we'll talk about maybe a little bit more about the DeAndre Ayton signing with the Lakers yesterday. I did cover that in our stream yesterday as well, but we got full coverage of NBA free agency for you guys. So make sure to hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if you're not subscribed to the channel already. We're going to have Summer League watch parties. Those should be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to that. And during the season, we have post-game shows after every Blazer game, breaking things down. So hopefully you guys are having a good week. Hopefully you have a 3-day weekend. I have a 3-day weekend, and I need a 3-day weekend after everything that went into the last week and a half, prepping for the draft, prepping for free agency. My life's a little crazy, so I'm looking forward to a 3-day weekend this weekend. You can let me know what plans you guys have in the live chat. And we're going to talk some basketball, man. We're going to talk some basketball. We're going to talk about if Jerami Grant is ever going to get traded. Will the Blazers ever trade Jerami Grant? I'm going to save that conversation for Eric, okay? I'll stall for Eric. You still have some free agents out there. Jonathan Kuminga is still a free agent, a restricted free agent. There has been rumors about a potential sign and trade with him going to the Sacramento Kings. You have Quentin Grimes. Quentin Grimes, he's still a restricted free agent. I wonder when that's going to get resolved. He definitely deserves more than a full mid-level exception, but I don't know if there's a team out there that can actually give him that sort of offer sheet, so maybe he has to settle for a little bit less on the open market. Today, you really didn't have much in the way of actual NBA transactional news. As you can see 3 hours ago, Sham's latest tweet was about Jabari Walker. I would love to get a Shams tweet during the stream, but I'm not counting on it. I guess the biggest news you had today was Jackson Hayes. He's going back to the Los Angeles Lakers. The Lakers had been tied to free agent Al Horford, with the Boston Celtics looking like they're going to have a down year next year, and Al Horford getting up there in age. There's been a lot of rumors about the Warriors and the Lakers potentially getting the longtime Celtics big. But with the Lakers signing Jackson Hayes today, you have to wonder if they're still in play for Al Horford or not, because they have Ayton, they have Jackson Hayes. It looks like that's going to be their center duo next season. And I'll just say this. It's really funny to see Laker fans going through the honeymoon stages of acquiring DeAndre Ayton, just like it was funny to watch Blazer fans do it 2 years ago. Talking about how the new situation, the Lakers situation, is going to turn DeAndre Ayton into an all-star. How DeAndre Ayton's finally going to figure it out in LA. He's finally going to break out. This is finally the situation he needs. And it just reminds me exactly of everything Blazer fans were saying when the Blazers traded for DeAndre Ayton 2 years ago. And Suns fans warned Blazer fans during that time about DeAndre Ayton's issues. And now I see Blazer fans on the timeline warning Laker fans to not get too excited with DeAndre Ayton. I actually saw a tweet that was referencing some defensive analytics for DeAndre Ayton, talking about how he's an A-grade defender in like 4 different weird analytical areas. And to me, it was like a perfect example of why you can't trust defensive analytics. It was from Basketball Index that has all these interesting analytics. I mean, the analytics are cool to look at, but you can't put too much stock in them. And Basketball Index is created and ran by a Laker fan. So, yeah. The Blazers defense, I saw people bringing this up. The Blazers defense after DeAndre Ayton got hurt was like 5th best in the league. And they were a far better defensive team with him off the floor. The Blazers, per 100 possessions, as we have discussed multiple times, the Blazers were 5 points better defensively per 100 possessions with Donovan Clingan on the floor. Now we'll get to see Donovan Clingan start, and I'm super excited for it. Super excited for it. Now, as far as other news goes, it's kind of quiet, man. This was a quieter free agency. I don't think there's going to be a whole lot of chaos. There's been Malik Monk rumors, and it sounds like he could be headed to Detroit. But outside of that, I don't know what other team would look to trade for him. Maybe it'd be a 3-team trade with the Kings sign and trading for Jonathan Kuminga and Monk going to a 3rd team, and maybe that team sending assets to Golden State. I'm not sure. But right now, it's kind of a weird time. It's kind of a weird time where you're not having much trade action, but there's a lot of rumors that are circulating. But they're the type of rumors that it's hard to put too much stock into them actually panning out and meaning anything. So right now, it's just kind of wait-and-see mode for the NBA. It's wait-and-see mode for Damian Lillard, as he is still a free agent. And there was actually a tweet today from Chris Haynes that said, free agent star Damian Lillard is open to signing with a team this offseason under the right terms and conditions as he continues rehabbing. He is receiving ample interest, but is in no rush to make a decision. So I guess we have another Dame saga this summer that's not going to conclude anytime soon. Now, those right terms and conditions seem to me to be he wants to rehab in the Portland area. And I am all for bringing Dame back on a 1-year deal, letting him be around the team, mentor the team, rehab in the facility. And then if he's close to full health and close to returning around the deadline or late February and he wants a buyout to go ring chasing with a contender, the Blazers should respect that and buy him out, and then he can go ring chasing and he can get the best of both. He can mentor the Blazers' young players, be around the organization, rehab in Portland, and then go ring chasing at the end of the year. I think that's the best situation for him, and I think the Blazers should absolutely do it. They still have 2 open roster spots. They have to fill one of them, and they might leave the other one open for trade purposes. I don't know. They've left the open roster spot before. But the Blazers have obviously not been active in free agency, like they haven't been active in free agency since they signed GP 2 weeks. So I'm all for that, but it sounds like he's not going to make a rash decision. Now, Mike Richmond on Locked On Blazers did say that Dame wants to return to Portland. And the context of it, I don't know if it was like right now or just at some point. But it is no secret that Dame wants to be a Blazer at some point in his career before it's over. He wants to return to the organization that he built a legacy with. Could it be right now? I don't think it's likely. I don't think the Blazers are looking to bring him back. I think it's more likely he signs a 2-year deal with a team like the Boston Celtics. He'd be a great fit there. They, of course, have the down year with no Tatum this year. He's recovering from an Achilles just like Dame is. But you could have both those guys coming back in the 2026-2027 season. And with their defensive core, I think Dame would be a fun fit there. He kind of could follow Drew Holiday from Milwaukee to Boston. And then Drew Holiday comes to Portland. Those guys are in a little, I don't know. Those guys are weirdly copying each other if Dame goes to Boston, you know? And then maybe Dame goes from Boston back to Portland for the final year of his career, and they're just following each other. I don't know. But at the end of the day, like, the Blazers have the best 2029 first between Boston, Milwaukee, Portland. I don't expect that Boston pick to be good. They'll find a way to bounce back. They'll still have Tatum, Jaylen Brown probably, Peyton Pritchard, most likely. They'll have pieces. I don't know if they'll be contenders, but I don't expect them to be a lottery team by 2029, unfortunately. I think if you're the Blazers, you just have to hope the Miles Turner and Dame buyout stuff completely backfires and Giannis wants out by like 2027. And honestly, if Giannis asked out right now, it might actually be a little too early for the Blazers to get a really good Milwaukee pick in 2028, 2029. Like, they'd have some time to try and bounce back. I like the idea more of things really going south with Milwaukee, with Giannis in 2026, 2027. Like, just hold out a little bit longer. Hopefully this situation doesn't pan out. And it's not to root against Milwaukee specifically. It's not to root against Giannis staying in a small market. I like when stars want to stay in small markets and deal with the struggle. But the Blazers would greatly, greatly benefit from the Milwaukee Bucks being a really bad team in 2028. The Blazers have the right to swap first-round picks. And then they get the best 2029 first between Boston, Milwaukee, Portland. And then they have right to swap picks in 2030 as well. So if the Bucks are a bad team, then it's going to be great for your Portland Trail Blazers. So can't help but root for the downfall of the Bucks, at least in those years. But as far as Dame goes, I don't expect a decision particularly soon. And as far as NBA trades go, I don't really know what's next. There's a lot of rumors, but it just feels like rumors that could easily fall through, and there's not a whole lot of action the rest of the offseason. But you still have to figure out like where Jonathan Kuminga's going and how much money Quentin Grimes is going to get. Those are the two big dominoes. You also have Chris Paul that he's still deciding on where to go. Apparently the Bucks have interest in him. Anyway, I'll take questions from chat. Hopefully Eric will be here soon. I want to save the Grant conversation. And honestly, it's not going to be much of a conversation. Any word on Delano Banton is the question in chat. It wouldn't surprise me if that's the 14th roster spot and the Blazers just bring him back. It's funny how there was people calling him an untouchable player early in the season, and he's just been sitting there rotting on the free agent market. I think he'll end up somewhere. I don't know if it's the Blazers, but the Blazers also reportedly had ties to Chris Boucher and might be interested in him. I actually think Chris Boucher would be a pretty decent signing if they did not have Jerami Grant taking minutes at what should be the backup four. Because Boucher can play the 4 or the 5, and he's a decent three-point shooter. The Blazers need three-point shooting. And with a rotation at center with Klingon and Robert Williams III and Young Hansen, it would be nice to have somebody that would slot in at the 4 but could slide up to the 5 and could shoot the 3. That would give the Blazers more insurance at the 5. It would kind of help their shooting issue. Boucher, 36.3% from 3 last year. He was 34% the year before. Or 34% for his career. He was 33% the year before. So, like, he's not the greatest shooter, but he's shown that he's capable of knocking down threes. So, like, I wouldn't trade Robert Williams III for him, Chris. I don't think Boucher is going to sign for more than, like, the biannual exception, which the Blazers have. Is about $5 million. You can use it once every 2 years. It's not the MLE. He might only get a minimum. Drew says, Troy, how much revenue do the Blazers earn with Lillard versus without? This should be an easy move. Come back money. I mean, Dame not playing isn't really going to boost that revenue. But Chris Boucher would be an interesting signing. I just don't see where he gets the minutes with Jerami Grant on the roster. King Sam in chat brings up Antonio Reeves. The Pelicans waived Antonio Reeves today, and it was honestly surprising to me. He's a guard out of Kentucky. Last year he's a rookie. They took him with the 47th overall pick. He played 44 games as a rookie. He played 15 minutes a game. He averaged 7 points. He shot 39.5% from 3, almost 46% from the field. Like, he's decently efficient as a like scoring 6'5" bench guard per 36 last year if you want to extrapolate it out. 16.6 points, 3.5 boards, 2 assists, true shooting percentage of 58%. He's not a good defender. Like, he wasn't like he was necessarily a good player, but like he scored efficiently, and he's a scoring guard, and he was a rookie. Now, he was an older rookie, but he's 24 years of age. Like, that's the type of guy to maybe take a swing on and see if he can improve going into year 2 and just is an interesting scorer. You know what I mean? Like, I'd rather have him on a two-way than Caleb Love. I don't know how old Caleb Love is, but he's an old rookie as well. He was in college forever. Antonio Reeves is just a more efficient scorer and kind of a similar player. Like, they're just guys that get shots up and they go get buckets. So I wouldn't hate taking a flyer on Antonio Reeves, but I think he'll get picked up somewhere on a two-way, especially if Jabari Walker is getting two ways. If Jabari Walker is getting two ways, I know I wasn't the highest person on Jabari Walker, but he's good enough to be on a normal roster contract, and I feel like that's just a sign that the NBA needs to expand. There's enough talent out there that the NBA can add 30 normal roster spots with 2 teams in expansion. Fully believe that. Anyway. You still have Ryan Rollins out there as like a bench guard. Not that he makes a whole lot of sense for the Blazers, but I think he'll be a good pickup for whatever team picks him up. We got a trade idea in chat as well. The Heat get Jerami Grant. Washington gets Matisse in 2 Portland seconds, and Portland gets Kispert and Rozier. Miami probably needs more value back, but I don't know what else. I think that's actually a pretty solid trade idea. It's just like, how do you get Miami to want to take on that contract? Because they'd probably rather just have cap flexibility in the future, especially with it being a potential free agent destination. So that's why I think Miami would say no. But like Matisse in 2 seconds to Washington for Kispert, I don't think Kispert factors into their plans long term. And the Blazers have plenty of defense. They need a knockdown 3-point shooter, preferably somebody that could play the 2 or the 3. And Kispert's that guy. Washington has been stacking expiring contracts that expire this year with Chris Middleton, CJ McCollum, and Marcus Smart. That's like $75 million of salary coming off the books, like $85 million coming off the books, something like that. So if they can get another expiring contract for Kispert, who's starting a 4-year deal, making about $14 million a year, then that's just more money that they'd free up next offseason to really go and be creative and flexible, building around their young core, who they just added Trey Johnson to. You got Bub Carrington, Bilal Coulibaly, Keyshawn George was okay as a rookie. Alex Sarr, of course, the second pick from last year. So Kispert's like the one guy, the one trade target that I feel like makes a lot of sense for the Blazers to go after and makes a lot of sense for the team he's on to trade. Now, the trades the Blazers make are never ones that you expect, and it's never for the player that everyone thinks makes sense. You know, there wasn't an Ant trade to Boston, nope. Or there wasn't an Ant trade to Orlando, nope. It was an Ant trade to Boston for Drew Holiday, right? Last offseason, it was Denny Avdia out of nowhere. The Blazers always make the surprising trades, so I feel like Kispert will never be a Blazer just because that trade actually makes sense on the surface. But yeah, I would love Corey Kispert to be a member of the Blazers as a Gonzaga fan, but also I think he fills a need. And I think the Blazers, it's kind of malpractice that all they've done this offseason to address what I think is maybe their biggest need, which is a lack of three-point shooting, is to trade Anthony Simons for Drew Holiday, who's not as good of a three-point shooter. They've just made it worse. Now, you can hope for internal improvement, but that's the biggest problem with the Blazers moving forward. And I think if they have another move to make this offseason, if Cronin stops taking a vacation, you know, if he comes back from the beach or wherever the hell he's been since the draft, it would be good on him to find a way to get some shooting on this roster. There were some guys in free agency that could have made sense. Luke Kennard, I know he's a guard, but he's a lights-out shooter. He signs with Atlanta. Great signing for them. And then you have Duncan Robinson. He gets signed and traded to the Detroit Pistons. He makes about 3 years, about $16 million a year. Yeah, it was $48 million, so $16 million a year. and he's a knockdown shooter. Now, I think that's a little pricey for him, but I wouldn't have minded if Cronin maybe got a little aggressive with the contract offer to go out and get somebody that addressed a major need with this team as they're actively trying to be good next year. I don't really understand the whole move for Drew Holiday without a follow-up move to add some shooting, because the move for Drew Holiday, yes, he's a good mentor for the core, but also it's the type of move that's like, yeah, we're trying to be a little bit better next year. We're trying to be elite defensively. We're trying to be competitive. And they've said as much. It's no secret that the Portland Trailblazers want to be a playoff team next year, at least a play-in team, and they want to be as competitive as possible without mortgaging the future. But the lack of a follow-up move for some shooting just doesn't really make sense with that mindset that they have. And that's where I think this year, more so than last year, more so than the year before. I mean, the year before was weird because they were trying to build around Dame and then Dame demanded a trade after they did nothing. But like last year, they were still more in rebuild mode, so you kind of understood it. And they did make a move for Denny Avdija, right? This offseason, it makes no sense to just draft Young Hansen after trading Anthony Simons for Drew Holiday and then just call it an offseason. Now, if they do sign Chris Boucher with Jerami Grant on the roster, I think it's completely pointless because you have Jerami Grant as what should be your backup for, and Chris Boucher is not a good enough shooter to be somebody that like you really value playing for that need. I like Boucher as a 4-5 that can shoot if Grant's off the roster to provide some center insurance and hopefully shore up the shooting a little bit. But if you're going to keep Jerami Grant on this roster, it makes no sense to sign Chris Boucher. Like, you should absolutely be going after a wing that can shoot. But, I mean, this is just kind of what Joe Cronin does. He makes a trade, okay? He makes a trade. He drafts a player. He maybe cuts a player. And then he goes on vacation. I mean, even when Dame demanded a trade, it's like he went on vacation for a month. And then came back and, finally traded Dame in September. It's a good trade. I'm not saying he shouldn't have waited, but July is not a Joe Cronin month. We got a comment in chat. Jerami Grant is being so slept on, which is great for us. What do you mean? Rebounds sleep on Jerami Grant. Making shots inside the arc really slept on Jerami Grant last year. Jerami Grant was straight up awful last year. Straight up awful. And somehow it's like him coming off the bench, he's going to bounce back when he's not really used to that role. He already struggled to adjust to an offensive system that didn't prioritizing. Let me restart. Jerami Grant struggled last season to adjust to an offense that wasn't prioritizing, isolating him an obscene amount of times each game. He admitted as much in his exit interview. Chauncey even hinted at it as well in his exit interview. So if Grant can't even adjust to an offense that's not funneling through him, you're going to tell me he's going to be a good bench player? I don't understand that. And here's the thing with this game. Is like people say, he had it down here. He already sucked at a lot of things, even when he was good. And it's almost to the point where it's like, if you're not using him as a high usage offensive option, which the Blazers absolutely should not, he's not a particularly good role player. That's the thing, is you can kind of overlook the rebounding and the lack of passing and some of the defensive issues, not being able to get through screens, like the lack of physicality defensively. Like you can kind of overlook that stuff when he's scoring 20 points per game efficiently. But there is no way he should be scoring 20 points per game next year, even if he's playing well offensively. He should not have that much of a role. So when you lower his usage and he doesn't do all these other things well, then it's like, what's the point? He's not really helping you win in that case. So I'm having this discussion with somebody in chat that says, you don't think he can shoot the three for us this year? Come on. We don't need to pay $32 million and be stuck on a 3-year deal with over $100 million left for a guy that struggles at everything except for three-point shooting. He could attack the year before, but if his role is reduced, he's not going to be as much of a slasher and creator. And the thing is, when he tried to do that last year, he sucked at it. So that is quite the price tag for a guy that's just a three-point shooter, a career 36 three-point shooter. 36% three-point shooter. He was a 36% three-point shooter last year. It was like right in line with his career average. When he's been used as a role player, he's been able to get to like 39%. But I mean, really? You can go find that for much cheaper. Like, this is a problem. This is a problem. Remember that's the guy that said we were getting LaRavia? I don't think that was the guy that said we were getting LaRavia. But, like, at the end of the day, Jerami Grant is not good at enough things to be, like, a good bench role player, in my opinion. He's just not. And that's fine if you're not the team paying him. So anyway, I've stalled long enough without Eric. He told me 20 to 30 minutes. It's been, let's see here. Oh, he said he's not going to be home for 20 to 30 minutes. Okay. He didn't say he was going to be ready. That's my bad. That's my bad. But as far as rumors and stuff go, hit the like button, by the way. We do not have enough likes on the stream. Okay? This is what stalling looks like. This is professional level stalling. Okay? Like the stream if you want Grant traded. Okay? Anyway. Tori, will you take Rui and connect for JG, but you also need to give the Orlando pick? I am not a fan of that. Like, why are you trading your highest upside assets to get off Jerami Grant? Doesn't really make the team that much better. I like connect, but, like, I'd protect that pick, maybe. But I also don't think the Lakers do that. Like, why would they care about that pick? They're trying to be good next year, but they're also trying to save money for next offseason. So it just doesn't really matter. I think if a team trades for Jerami Grant, it's not actually going to be the Lakers. I mean, they make sense, so it could be, but I think it would be like the Kings out of nowhere if they strike out on Kuminga, or the Hornets in a 3-team trade where, like, Miles Bridges goes somewhere else. And they decide, like, what the hell, we'll pay Jerami Grant. I don't know why. Like, it'd be a dumb move for either of those teams, but that's what the Blazers have to hope for, is a dumb move. But, I mean, he's an awful contract. You look at what some of these role players go for this offseason. Like, D'Angelo Russell went for 2 years, $13 million total. That's like $6.5 million a year. Jerami Grant was not better than D'Angelo Russell last year. Jerami Grant would probably go for something similar. Like, he'd probably go for like $6 to $10 million a year. Just look at the other signings across the league. So, like, what team's going to want to pay him $32 million a year? It's a terrible contract. It's a terrible contract. The Blazers stuck between a rock and a hard place, and they did it to themselves. It doesn't really make sense to trade a first-round pick to get off Jerami, because what does that create? Does it create enough value that's greater than the first-round pick you attached to him? Probably not. So it's tough. It's tough. Like, you can't buy him out. He makes too much money. If he was in the last year of his deal, like, you could, because it's just on your books for the last year. But he's not. He's not. Any truth to we helped buying out 8 and so LA takes on Grant arrangement? I mean, probably not. Probably not. But yeah, so as far as trade rumors for Jerami Grant goes, there really isn't any. There really isn't any. There was a rumor today from Evan Sidery, and it's basically what we expected. It's that the Blazers have been trying to offload Jerami Grant, but can't find any takers. And I told you guys, this offseason, the Blazers were absolutely going to try and trade Jerami Grant. It was obvious with their exit interviews. The writing's been on the wall. They have 2 forwards that are better than him, cheaper than him, younger than him. And if they could not trade Jerami Grant, it wasn't for a lack of trying. It basically meant his contract is too much of a negative asset. There was people out there that still wanted to act like it was not a bad contract. There was a specific radio host that wanted to act like it wasn't a bad contract. He was the same guy that was acting like Norman Powell was a bad contract, making $18 million a year a couple of years ago when the Blazers gave him up for nothing. But he's acting like the Jerami contract is not a negative value. And we've been saying this for months. You should not be surprised. I know it sucks, but I've been saying this since January that he's a negative contract. So, I mean, just look at the way other fan bases, other people that cover the league talk about him when they start talking about his contract. That's how you know. It's easy to get like stuck in the bubble, maybe in the echo chamber, if you only talk to Blazer fans, if you only see stuff posted by Blazer fans in regards to players that are on your favorite team. But when you start paying attention to what everybody else says, like at least people that know what they're talking about, right? I'm not sitting here going to Laker fans on Twitter to gain any insight, but sometimes when people that know what they're talking about start talking about Jerami Grant the way they're talking about Jerami Grant, it is kind of eye-opening. It's like, yeah, I mean, this is how he's viewed. And this is why he's still here. Anyway, I'll read chat. Let me see if Eric's going to be joining us. I was not prepared to go solo today. Who shoots the 3-ball for us next year? I don't know, man. Joe Cronin hasn't done anything to address it. But they shouldn't stop him from trading Jerami Grant's awful contract. Maybe a trade with Phoenix. They probably dumb enough to get something to happen. So apparently there's a rumor like they're talking with the Heat about a Bradley Beal trade. I don't know why the Heat would trade for him, but maybe it's like Rozier plus Wiggins. In which case, if you're Phoenix, would you trade Rozier for Jerami Grant? I mean, the Suns have to give up a pick to get Miami to do that, right? Like, anything that offloads Jerami Grant for an expiring contract straight up is like a Hail Mary at this point. It's a Hail Mary. It's not really realistic, but it's like maybe Miami, for some reason, really wants Beal. Not even really wants. Like, maybe they're just willing to pay him that contract if they trade Rozier and Wiggins and get a pick back from Phoenix. And then you're sitting there as Phoenix with Andrew Wiggins and Terry Rozier, and maybe they'd be willing to trade Rozier and like another salary they don't really want for Jerami Grant. I think with the shooting issue, the Blazers are doing what Chad Coe says in chat. They're hoping for a higher shooting percentage from Henderson, Sharp, Repair, etc. Well, I wouldn't throw Repair in there. I don't think he's going to factor into the rotation next year, but Sharp especially. Because Scoot was like 35% last year. So maybe Scoot can be like 36%. Kamara was like 36%. Avdia was 36%. Almost 37%. Sharp needs to also be like 36% from three. And some of that shot selection and some of that is becoming more consistent as a shooter. If you can have 4 guys in the starting lineup shooting 36% from three, like your spacing isn't too bad. Or maybe Drew starts in front of Scoot, and Drew basically like shot 35% last year, but a lot of them were open threes. When he didn't shoot like hardly any threes when somebody was 0 to 4 feet. And then when closest defenders were 4 to 6 feet, he shot like 29%. But the year before that, he shot 44% when defenders were 4 to 6 feet away. So basically, you just want Drew Holiday to be a good enough shooter where it forces teams to guard him and he can space the floor. I think he'll kind of bounce back a little bit as a shooter. And I think he'll shoot well enough to get defenses to respect him. I think part of it was he was in Boston where their offense was so good, like he didn't need to take contested shots, so he basically was only used to taking open shots. He basically would not shoot if there was a defender close to him. In Portland, he's going to probably have a little bit more of a green light and be a little bit more comfortable taking those shots. At least that's my hope. But the rest of the roster is kind of like, your centers, you're not expecting them to shoot. If you trade Grant, I don't know who the backup wing is. Like, I think Thybulle's going to play next year. Can Thybulle shoot consistently enough on enough volume for teams to take it seriously? Because even though he shot well in spurts, it still feels like teams don't really take him seriously as a shooter. Like, that's the thing. You need to be around 36% as a team at least. Last year, the Blazers were... I'll look this up. Give me a second. Oh, we finally have Mr. Brandt. Finally have Mr. Brandt. All right. What's going on? I didn't plan on wasting all my solo material yesterday just to have to solo again today, but yeah, I started a little earlier for once. What's going on, man? How you doing?
Oh, pretty good. Just had a birthday dinner since we were streaming on my birthday last week, so was at Benihana. It took a little longer than I was expecting.
Nice. I don't know how much of the stream you've listened to, but feel free to
I've listened to most of it.
Yeah, feel free to dive into any part you want to respond to. I've kind of covered everything that I figured we'd cover today anyway, so we can go back and retouch upon any of it.
Mm-hmm. I will say if any form of even if it's Vincent Kleba and Vanderbilt's contract, if any part of that is on the table, you have to take it, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And because there was, I didn't hear this, but people were saying that Mike Richmond said that the Blazers were not interested in doing that because they didn't want to take back Vanderbilt's contract, which is so stupid and short-sighted. Like,
yeah,
why would you not want to take back the same length of contract that's 3 or a third of the cost of Jerami's? Like, that makes no sense why you wouldn't want to do that.
Yeah, so if that's the case, it's just another example of the Blazers misplaying their hand when trying to sell someone, It's like they apparently wanted 2 firsts and Rui for Jerami last offseason. That was a misplay, and now if you're sitting here being stingy about getting back one contract that's 3 times cheaper, that's the same length for what is a bad contract, then what the hell are you doing? That's completely silly. Completely silly. So, yeah, they absolutely have to take that. And if they're sitting there saying, no, every contract needs to be expiring, guess what? You're going to end up with 0 expiring contracts for them because you're not going to be able to trade them.
Yeah, I just don't get what they're expecting because there's not another team that has the expiring contracts that would be willing to trade those for him, or the teams that would probably take Jerami don't have the way to like match salary like the Lakers could without like kind of gutting the core of their team. So it's weird, man. I don't understand why you wouldn't jump on that if that's available, and I don't know why the Lakers wouldn't do that either. If they're not, that doesn't hurt them at all. It actually helps them, I think. So, and then you can always buy out Vincent or Kleba. I mean, Kleba would be your best shooter actually, so you might not want to buy him out. But
hasn't his streak fallen off though? Like past couple
yeah,
years?
but I mean, like just in theory, he would be our best shooter. But like, but yeah. So then, if you want to like, you'd still need to probably address the forward position. I guess Vanderbilt could be that guy, and maybe you move Vanderbilt at some point for more of a long-term younger piece at the 3 or the 4 that you could kind of get behind as being a future guy. But I don't know, man. That seems like are really only out for a while unless Grant somehow magically has a really good year. But then I could see them not trading him too if he has a good year and we're doing well. So I don't know.
Start next year, man. Like that's my biggest worry. He cannot start next year. If they start him next year, it's basically just saying to me like, we're trying to showcase him again. Don't make that same mistake. It did not go well last time. All right. And you're starting him over, like, they're not going to start him over Avdia or Kamara. Like, they'd start the 3 forward lineup. The thing is, you got 3 guards that all deserve minutes, so you're cutting into minutes for either Drew, who you just traded Ant for, or Scoot, or Sharp, and that's a mistake cutting into any of those guys' minutes for Jerami Grant. So he can't start next year. He cannot start next year. I will lose my mind on the first postgame show of the year if that game Jerami Grant starts and the Blazers are healthy, right? Obviously, if somebody gets hurt, like, okay, yeah, you can start him. But he should not be starting when this team is healthy. I think that would be a disaster. Don't waste your time trying to showcase a guy who is clearly a negative contract and clearly not going to play up to that contract. And, like, you are stuck in a hard place right now, but you kind of put yourself there. Now you got to deal with it.
Yeah. Well, no, remember, it's Dame's fault. I just saw that in chat earlier when I was watching.
Tonight?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how many times we got to try and dispel that narrative, but yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to Jetted Out.
Oh,
Beat you to it. With a $5 donation, says, as a diehard Spurs fan, love your guys' content. Thank you, Jetted Out. It's always cool to hear from fans of other teams that enjoy our content. So we really appreciate the donation.
Appreciate that. Yeah, we try to be knowledgeable about the entire league, not just the Blazers, but obviously Blazers will always be our focus.
Yeah.
Man, Spurs, as a Spurs fan, you got to be stoked about getting Dylan Harper, man. Like, how crazy would it be to be, like, if the Blazers had the Spurs luck the last couple drafts with, like... I don't even
want to talk about it.
Dude.
I don't even want to talk about it. No offense to the Spurs fan that donated, but yeah, I'm a little jealous of what y'all got going on.
Think about how close we were to having that be our reality, though.
Wow.
What, one ping pong ball 2 times, man.
Yeah. Eric basically is just poking my wounds right now, chat. He's just pouring salt on the wounds. I'm just gonna ignore that. Going back to the shooting conversation we were having. The Blazers last year were 34 point. Whoa, what is nice ceiling light? You know you can turn off your webcam for a second. But nice.
I thought it'd be more fun if I didn't.
That was so fun. The Blazers last year shot 34.2% from 3. Okay, that was good for 26th. 15th place, 16th place was 36.4. I think the goal for the Blazers is to try and be an average 3-point shooting team. And you hope, like, who shoots 36-ish% from three on the team. Denny, Tumani did last year. Scoot got close last year. Jerami. I think as far as the shooting, like...
Not Chris Murray.
I think the shooting literally comes down to, can Sharp improve and get in that range? And who's the backup three? Like, the thing is with Jerami on the team, like, he's probably the backup 3-4, right? So you got you got a 3-guard core, you got a 3-forward core, right? And then you got your centers. On any given night, it could be like an 8-man rotation. Chauncey probably will play 10 guys and find a way to play Chris Murray so we can get some Cedar Rapids references. But if you think about it as like an 8-man core, really the only thing holding this team back from being an average shooting team, if those guys kind of keep up their shooting, is Sharp. Because he takes a lot of threes and does not shoot well. So, like, how can he bump it up? Like, Drew last year on a bunch of open shots was close to 36%. That's the other guy I haven't said. And the year before, he was 42%. So I kind of hope he gets back to, like, 36%, 37%, whatever. Right? He's not going to get as many open shots, but I think, he'll have more of the green light to shoot maybe a little bit more contested shots. It's going to be interesting to see how that affects him. But, like, that's the hope for it being a average shooting team, is, like, everybody is average. Because none of those guys is, like, I guess Jerami the past couple of years was a 40%er, but, like, outside of that, none of those guys you expect to shoot 40% from three. You just hope that everyone outside the centers is just, like, at least average, and that way you can be an average three-point shooting team.
Yeah. I still think you need one person to be more of a lights-out shooter, but...
It would make it a lot easier if you, instead of... They're going to play Thibault next year. Instead of Thibault, if you had a more knockdown three-point shooter... Mm-hmm. It would make it a lot easier to be like a good enough shooting team. And if
Dougie
Sharp
Buckets is still out there,
hopefully he's a better player than that. But because if Sharp's having an off night shooting the ball and you need some floor spacing because other guys have it go, and you should have an option to throw in the game that's like a 3-point shooter. But that's the thing is, like, who's that option off the bench at a wing? Matisse Thybulle. Yeah. It's Matisse Thybulle. Like, and I know he's had hot stretches, but I don't trust him as a shooter. He's not somebody like, he's an average shooter at best. Just like everybody else. He's a career 34% three-point shooter. So I'd rather have a guy that will knock down threes.
Caleb Love.
Yeah, career 32% shooter in college. So, yeah, good luck there. But
college line's too close for him. He's got better range.
What are the odds you think Jerami gets traded at this point? I know I asked you this recently, but let's just reiterate this. What is the chance that Jerami gets traded before opening night?
What did I say? 75% no before? Yeah. It's probably still that 75, 80%.
I think it's 80% is what I say. Chat, you can let us know. But, like, the only thing I'm really wondering is, like, who's going to be the 14th signing? Because the Blazers have 13 players under contract. They do have to sign another player, and one of their 2 free agents is gone. Shockingly, on that 2-way to Philadelphia, Jabari Walker is gone. Mm-hmm. Surprised he only signed for a 2-way, but that shows you, Eric, that, like, the Blazers didn't want him back.
Yeah,
they could have easily had him back on, like, a minimum.
That's the only reason why I don't say it's higher than 75 to 80% for Jerami, because they're operating like a team that is going to need a couple roster spots. So it makes too much sense to do that trade I talked about earlier with the Lakers. And it makes sense considering they haven't been linked to any of the remaining free agents, like, at all. There isn't even, like, a whisper that we're even talking to free agents, let alone actually trying to sign one. So that's the only reason why I'm, like, still holding out hope that the Laker thing is true, because like, I don't see what else they're waiting for to fill that roster spot, or to kind of fix the roster problems with that, just adding the shooter, especially now that almost all the shooters are locked in or taken up. So outside of trading for, like, a Kispert, like you mentioned earlier, I don't really know what else they're going to do, because But I mean, if they're going to trade for someone like that, it could have already happened already. It's not like they have to wait for something to happen. So,
Yeah.
And he fits into the mid-level exception. So technically the Wizards wouldn't have to take back any salary.
Yeah, that's true.
But
I think like if they're just taking back and expiring, like they're fine with it. They're stacking expirings, so
yeah,
that's just more salary off the books. That's hopefully the pitch, right? But it's like I think other teams would have maybe done that by now, so maybe you have to throw in seconds. But shout out to Bruce Davis, member for 32 months. Says, hi, Tori, Eric, anyone you both want with the mid-level exception? I mean, there's no free agents left, really, for that. But, like, trade-wise, Kispert is a guy. Thank you for being a channel member, Bruce. I will tell you what I, like, the perfect rest of the offseason based on what we're talking about, okay? It's Jerami to the Lakers for Vanderbilt, Kleba, Gabe Vincent. You find a way to flip Vanderbilt to a third team for an expiring contract where maybe that team also gets back a second or two for Vanderbilt, but like a team that's kind of in a bad situation that would just take Vanderbilt's contract. So I think the perfect destination is Milwaukee for Micic, right? And you just add a better player because they just need to find as many ways as possible to get better. So, you know, you flip Vanderbilt for Micic, maybe toss Milwaukee a second. I don't know. I mean, Milwaukee might be desperate enough to do it regardless. They just took on $22 million of dead money the next 5 months. So basically, you're trading Jerami for 3 expiring contracts: Micic, Kleba, Gabe Vincent. You maybe buy one of them out. You trade another one of them for Kispert, or maybe you throw in a couple of seconds. And then you have one roster spot left, and then you do what I talked about last night with Damon. You sign him to that 15th roster spot, and if he wants to buy out late in the season, you do it. He can go ring chasing if he's ready to return. He mentors the young guys in different ways than Drew mentors the young guys. Drew is a good defensive mentor. Dame's a good like pick and roll offensive mentor, vocal locker room leader type guy. Drew is a little quieter, it seems. So then you're going into next season, and you don't have to deal with Grant. You got Kispert on the roster for shooting purposes. You got off Grant's contract. You got Dame there mentoring guys. I think the only question would be, like, who's your backup for? But Tamani can slide up. Like, so yeah. Kispert, if he's playing all the minutes at the 3 and Tamani starting the 3, Avdija at the 4, you can stagger Avdija and Kamara can slide up.
Well, also, if we have Drew still... I mean, there's going to be times where Drew, Scoot, and Sharp are on the court together, too, so that eats up a little bit of minutes.
Yeah, that too. So, yeah, I think, you know, and if there's a minimum signing out there that Dame goes somewhere else and there's a minimum power forward out there that maybe makes sense, sure, but I don't really know who that would be. Trevin says, well, Milwaukee's dead money will be gone by December. I meant 5 years. 5 years, not 5 months. Vando would be cool too. Keep though, just wish you were more healthy. I mean, he's not a shooter and he's a defender. He's kind of like not what we need.
Yeah, I could see them liking him though. Just not his contract. But
yeah. It's just wild to me. Like, I've finally gotten used to like we have defense, we need shooting. For a decade, it was the opposite, right? Yeah. Like, you know, we need better shooters than Aminu and Harkless, but like. So I guess maybe with them it wasn't quite so much, but it's just completely flipped. Like, we got defenders, we need shooting, and I mean, we just hasn't added it.
We had a team at one point with Dame, CJ, Norm, Anthony, Carmelo. Like, we had shooters. Like,
yeah. You know what's funny is like think about who they've signed and drafted. Who Cronin has signed and drafted. Who is the best shooter out of all of them?
I know you're leading this to say Scoot, right?
I mean, who else? It's GP 2 weeks. It's Sharp. It's Scoot. It's Klingon. It's Young.
Moses Brown.
Yeah, that's the other side. Is Moses Brown. So, like, he traded for Jeremy. He traded for Denny. He traded for Tabati, right? But, like... siding or draft picks, like he has never gone the way of a shooter. And even Denny bringing him in, there were shooting questions. Tamani bringing him in, like there was shooting questions. He just doesn't bring in shooters, man. He just doesn't bring in shooters. It's just never been a priority for him, and it's super weird.
See, I was convinced that this offseason would be, because they do have like seemingly a one-track mind. It's still on defense, I guess. But I thought for sure both draft and free agent, if they signed anyone, it would be to address the shooting need, and they just went all in, continued on defense. So you trade your biggest 3-point shooting threat for a really good defender. So they're leaning into that, man. They're going the opposite, zigging when everyone else thought they should zag.
Yep. We got AJ forgetting last year. He says Denny shot 37% from three with the Wizards those final season. But like the 3 years before that was he was like 30% or worse. So when we traded for Denny, it was like, was the 37% legit, or was it a hot shooting?
And then he got off to a bad start, and everyone thought, oh man, it was an outlier. Luckily, it came back towards the end of the season, because he went on like an insane stretch where he was shooting like 50% for a month or so.
Yeah. Good question in chat. How concerned are we with Shaden's motor? Does he want to be great? That's one of those things where I'm not worried about it, because I just think like he's always going to be questionable in that area, and he could still be a good player, but it will probably hold him back from being like a superstar. And I've kind of accepted that. I still have hope that maybe he could like overcome that and become great, but I'm kind of just like, he'll probably become like a fringe star, and the Blazers will need to find their star elsewhere, and that's fine. Like, that's kind of my attitude towards it. So that's why I wouldn't say that I'm worried. I kind of accept that as just part of who he is.
Yeah, it's so weird, because it's not like because most guys you would say that about, it's like, how much do you love basketball or whatever? And he seems to like, his like life revolves around basketball. He seems like a quiet guy. He doesn't really do much off the court, like it seems like he wants to be here. He wants to play basketball and all that kind of stuff. So it does seem weird to me that he has those question marks. But I will say that was my biggest question about him before that draft even happened was, is he the type of guy who can be that player who like we all think he could be with that elite skill set? So the shooting splits are also troublesome, that he hasn't been able to figure out his 3-point shot since his rookie year. He had that finger injury, and it's been downhill ever since. So it's like, it's tough, because you could very easily turn it around and this could all look silly. I would not be surprised if that happened, but I think until that does, I think we do have validity to questioning whether his motor is good enough for him to reach those levels that people think he could be.
Yeah. He could ascend the way SGA did, though. I mean, they're just different players, and I don't know. Like, SGA has never had the motor questions that Sharp has.
Yeah.
SGA by year 3, wasn't he already a star?
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, he was good. He was the Thunder's leading scorer in his first year there, right?
He was
with
19
Chris
a game.
Paul. Yeah, but I think that was like.
But
I'm pretty sure that was the leading scorer, because they had Chris Paul. He didn't average more than 19.
Yeah, year 3 he only played 35 games, but he averaged 24 points per game and 6 assists.
Yeah.
So that's better than Sharp. Like, Sharp's behind that trajectory. But I get what you're saying. Like, SGA is like kind of a quieter dude, but he competes defensively. Like, he's always kind of competed.
Tristan says he hasn't done anything to show he has a bad attitude. Absolutely, yeah, and that's where the distinction is. Like, I was trying to say, like, he seems like he likes basketball. He seems like he's a good dude and all that kind of stuff. So it's not a question of like his attitude or problem. It just seems like he's sometimes just kind of like, he just doesn't have that ability to like dominate all the time when he's in the game. He seems to like disappear a little bit, and hopefully that's just, being a young player and learning how to play basketball in the NBA and stuff like that. I mean, like I said, he's still only 20. He's about to turn 22 or something like that. So this could all look silly, but he's like 24, 25 and like a solid player. But I do think you do have to wonder if that'll be the reason he never achieves that.
Yep. Shout out to Blueface Sammy, because he actually has a good free agent suggestion for the Blazers. Amir Coffey.
Yeah.
6'7", shot 41% from three last year in 72 games, played 24 minutes per game, shot 3.5 threes per game. Per 36, that is 5 threes per game. Like, would wish for the volume to be a little bit higher. But the last 2 years, he shot 38 and then 41% from three and can do a little bit off the bounce. And is 6'7", so like can play that backup three. I'm surprised he hasn't been signed yet. I mean, he's probably holding out for more, not going to get more. But like he would be one of the best minimum signings, I think. Mm-hmm. He averaged almost 10 a game last year for the Clippers and played a lot for them. He was like a regular in the rotation, so I'd take a flyer on him for sure.
Yeah.
They would probably play Thabo.
Yeah, I was surprised that the Clippers didn't. Yeah, probably.
Also, we don't have to type in caps. We don't have to type in caps. I can read your comments without the caps lock button being on. There's a button on your keyboard that says caps lock on it. Okay? And there might be a light that's like lit up because it's on. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to press down on that button and release. Nice. Nice. My advice helped. Good. We love it. Anyway, I saw somebody in chat earlier say, like, is Jerami getting traded? Just to reiterate, the latest Jerami Grant trade rumor is that the Blazers can't trade him. That's the latest.
They've been trying desperately.
They've been trying. And I told you, they're going to try. He's going to be a negative contract. When did I start saying he's a negative contract? Like, when did I start saying that with my chest? January?
I mean, we've pretty much thought that since he's signed, but it's like, definitely been...
You still held out hope.
Since last offseason, we thought that was if you're talking about, like, the graph where it shows value versus, like, play, it was pretty obvious that the maximum level would be last offseason. You weren't going to get a better time to unload him. So, yeah, it's probably – I think he started it either last offseason or shortly after the season started.
What about Alec Burks? He's too much of a guard, not enough of a wing.
Yeah.
He's too small for the three. And he's just kind of old. I don't know. I mean, I guess he's 6'6", listed as 6'6". So I guess it's not horrible. But that just feels like an Olshey sighting, you know? That really feels like an Olshey sighting.
Yeah.
I mean, the last 4 years, he shot 40% from three, and he's listed as 6'6". I mean, yeah. For a minimum, like, why not? What'd you say?
He's closer to like 6'4", though.
Yeah, he always felt like 6'4" to me. Antonio Reeves, I mean, Reeves is like 6'4" and skinny. He can't play the three. I like him. I think he'd be a good flyer for a team for sure. But
if you can get him on a two-way, I would.
I have a bunch of people that have asked about Brandon Boston Jr. I don't really know if he's like the type of player the Blazers should go after, though. He's a career 33% three-point shooter, was 35% last year. He's not a shooter. And he's also, like, doesn't really pass, doesn't really rebound. I mean, I guess he I don't know. He averaged 3.3 assists per 36, 4.9 rebounds. I guess that's fine for like a wing, but he's just not a shooter. He's not what the Blazers need. His contract isn't doing him any favors. He's stuck on a team he doesn't want to be on. Well, he can give up all the money if he wants. Trade Grant to the Pacers for Jarris Walker and Obi Toppin. They would never do that. They're in a first rounder. They still wouldn't do that. They just let Miles Turner walk because they didn't want to pay the tax because they're being super stingy. So they're not about to trade Jarris Walker and Obi Toppin for Jerami Grant.
Man, if we traded Jerami, though, Jarris would be that guy. If we could get him to be our backup form, man, that would be so nice.
What if
that'd be perfect.
What if Malik Beasley is found not guilty?
Yeah. I mean, there's your shooter. Probably get him on a minimum.
I know. Yeah, there you go. And then we're watching him like a hawk next season.
So, Landon says that Mike Richmond also said he had talked to someone close to Dame and that Dame wants to come back here. We're his preferred destination. I don't know if you mentioned that already.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Your thoughts?
I feel like Dame is... I don't know. I could definitely see him just thinking, you know what, I just want to be back in Portland. I should have never left. I just want to finish my career there. I could definitely see that. Now, do the Blazers want that?
They'd be kind of dumb.
That's the question.
He brings in the fan base, like, assuming he's out for the year, you try and find a way to trade Drew next offseason, and then you bring Dame off. Maybe, I don't know. It feels weird to say, but, like, assuming Scoot breaks out, like, that's the thing. This year, right, it's bring Drew off the bench, in my opinion. That's what I would do. Like, give Scoot every opportunity to break out. And either he breaks out, and then, like, if Dame's cool with it, you bring him off the bench as, like, the best six-man in the league and fills your shooting need and can still get, like, 30, 32 minutes a game. Getting up there in age, you probably shouldn't be playing 36 minutes a game. He can take over your offense for stretches, right? And if Scoot, like, sucks next year, then, I mean, that's a contingency plan where, like, you start Dame again. And maybe at that point you move on from Scoot after giving him the chance to fully break out and giving him every opportunity to run the offense.
Move on from Scoot, run it back with Dame, Drew, Sharp, Denny,
I mean,
Jelani.
if you start Scoot and give him the keys to the offense all next year and he really, really struggles, then at that point going into year 4, then it's a different conversation talking about bringing him off the bench compared to, like, never giving him that opportunity when he's looked good starting in year 2 and I think deserves the chance to start, especially considering, like, the team with him on the floor last year. Statistically, you can make the argument that the team was better with him on the floor last year, and he had enough moments to start going into year 3. So I think year 3, he needs every opportunity. I'd start him ahead of Drew. Absolutely would start him ahead of Drew. I don't think the Blazers will do that, so I think they'll handle this situation poorly. But, I mean, you're talking about a really, really talented player, like an all-star caliber player that you can get on the cheap that wants to be here, like, that maybe could still be an all-star caliber player once he returns. I mean, hopefully. I don't know. It's like the type of gamble to take, right? Like, even if he wasn't Damian Lillard, like, if it was somebody else that wanted to be here, like, I'd still be just intrigued by the chance to add that level of talent. You don't really get that opportunity if you're Portland. So, yeah, like, going into next year, it's like you got some stuff to figure out, but the Blazers have always had stuff to figure out with their rotation. So, might as well do it for a player that's freaking talented.
Yeah. So that was the other part. I don't know if you mentioned this too, but Richmond said that if he came back, he would think he was the guy here again and wouldn't be willing to take a limited role. I don't know if that's true or not. But.
Yeah, I mean, yeah.
Have you seen the pictures of the Golden State Warriors projected lineup with Steph, Dame, Butler, Horford and
Draymond.
Draymond.
He's the oldest lineup in history. I don't want to see him go to Golden State. That would.
I don't want to see him either, but that would be.
It's like Golden State and Lakers, and it's just like no.
As Gregory says, Team Unk. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It seems like Horford's going to go to Golden State because Lakers re-signing Jackson Hayes today seem like they are resigned to the fact that they're not going to get him.
I'm just wondering what the hell happens with Kuminga.
Yeah. Yeah, Kuminga, Grimes. Giddey hasn't signed yet either, right? All the big restricted free agents haven't gotten their deal. And now, other than Brooklyn, I don't think there's anyone who can pay him that much money. So unless you find a sign and trade, are those teams going to lowball them until they accept a qualifying offer or take a lower contract than they were expecting? I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm glad free agency isn't over, but it kind of feels over. You know? Yeah. It kind of feels over. I'm happy the Blazers have to sign another player. At this point, I'm just going to be irritated if they just re-sign Delano Banton for their 14th roster spot, and that's it for the rest of the offseason. I am going to be irritated.
Yeah.
Now, if they go sign some absolute scrub, I'm also a little irritated. But
you could definitely see that, though.
Yeah. Like, if they sign a Delano Banton or, like, a Moses Brown type of dude, I'm going to be irritated. They have to do something. So, I want some more news, man. Especially, like, I got a 3-day weekend. Would love for a Grant trade or something to cover. We'll see. We do have Summer League coming up in a little over a week. So, the Blazers Summer League schedule, they do end up playing 5 games. They have 4 scheduled originally, and then the 5th.
We got the night game for every one of them.
Yeah, I like that, though.
Yeah, no, it's good.
So July 11th, we'll have, try to have watch parties for all of these. July 11th is a Friday, 8 p.m., and then 7:30 on Saturday. Friday is against the Warriors, so you'll see Alex Tui and Will Richard. You'll see those guys. I might as well preview it this way. Hold on. Let's go to Golden State.
Backtosh says Horford to Denver would be crazy. Yeah, no, if they're going to lose Jonas Valanciunas, that would be.
Yeah, that's wild that he left. He gets straight to Denver. He's like, nah, I'm out. Going overseas.
Yeah, I wonder if that was just in the works and it wasn't because he got traded to Denver or if he just really didn't want to go there. I don't know why he wouldn't want to go there.
Yeah, I don't know why either.
Would have been a good situation.
Super weird stuff. But and then on Saturday it's 7:30 p.m. Pacific tip-off time against the Grizzlies. So I hope Cedric Howard's going to play. He was recovering from that injury last year, so I think there's a chance that he might not play, is what I heard. But you also got Javon Small, Jemai Meshack. We'll see who else is on their Summer League roster Saturday. So we'll have a live watch party for that. And then, let's see. Where was the schedule? Let me find it. Oh, there's an ad on it. That's why. And then the 15th is against New Orleans. That's on a Tuesday, 7 p.m. So I don't know if you and Crushables want to go live for that. Maybe that's Ustream because I'll have a rec at least the first hour of that, or maybe I rush home. I don't know. We'll figure it out. A lot of these games go live a little bit later anyway. But the Pelicans, that's going to be a fun game because they have a couple of very interesting rookies. You got Jeremiah Fears, Derek Queen, who they gave up their unprotected pick next year for. Micah Peavy with the 40th pick. You do have Hunter Dickinson. Young Hansen. Hopefully he cooks Derek Queen and Hunter Dickinson. I don't like Hunter Dickinson. But that's on the 15th. And then on the 17th, they will play the Houston Rockets July 17th. So I don't know if Reed Shepherd's going to play, but that, of course, would be interesting. Unfortunately, their 2025 draft looks like this. Looks like that. So, but we'll cover those games, of course. And that's what we have on tap. Anything else you want to really get into on this stream, Eric? Or do you just want to take questions?
Oh, for those asking in chat, it looks like Jonas Valanciunas is going to sign with, I don't know how to pronounce it, Panathinaikos in Greece. And he's just going to forgo the remaining 2 years of his contract and go sign with them overseas. So we'll see if he actually does it. I guess there's still a chance he might not, but it seemed like it was a pretty done deal.
Yeah. Kind of reminds me of when Mirotic went back overseas. Valanciunas has never been on a winning team, right? Has he ever been on a winning team?
Wasn't
he on the Raptors when they were good, like back with DeRozan?
Yeah. And he was also because he was traded when they got Gasol, right? So that was up until the year they won the championship, true. I think. True. And then they was also on the Pelicans, I believe, the year we traded him CJ, right? When they made the playoffs, and
I don't remember.
I think he was on that team still because it was only last year when he left the Pelicans.
Yeah, I don't remember. Let's see, the AI chat summary. Viewers in chat discussing potential trades and player acquisitions for the Portland team, particularly. Where'd it go? I was reading it off. Damn, it disappeared. Said something about Lillard.
Yeah, it didn't stay very long.
That's annoying. Wait, if I refresh it again, will it...
If you just switch from, like, top chat to live chat or back, it'll...
Gotcha.
Sometimes.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, we'll go live if like anything Blazer related happens tomorrow. Assuming I'm not with my family, like we'll go live later in the night maybe. But even if they sign like a minimum guy, might as well go live since I'm not gonna be working. We got a 3-day weekend coming up, so I'll have you guys covered with that. So if they sign Amir Coffee or someone like that, we'll go live. So make sure you tune in. We'll talk about things. We'll break it down.
What if it's Delano Banton?
Okay, if they resign Delano Banton,
you're gonna come on to rage a little bit.
Oh, should we go live if they resign Delano Banton? Only vote yes if you'd actually show up for the live stream. I'm not streaming to nobody just because it's Delano Banton. There's a poll in the chat voting it. Should we go live if they re-sign Delano Banton? The only way I'd do it is if we have 70% of the votes say yes. Maybe we'll do 2/3.
I would say that's a pretty insignificant re-sign to have a stream for. However, just the symbolism of that pretty much being conclusive evidence that that's all we're going to do this summer is trade for Drew, draft Young, and then re-sign Banton. I mean, that and call it an off-season. I think that I mean, it would be one of those negative streams again, but
yeah, I mean, most people are actually saying no. Maybe I'd go live for like 30 minutes if I'm bored, but it'll be on my own volition.
Stargadian says, I mean, you went live to let us know there are no new rumors, so LOL.
We go live every Monday and Thursday night.
This is our normal Thursday night show.
We also broke down the other stuff. Jabari signing with Philadelphia. Free agent update. Yeah, we go live every Monday and Thursday night. But I'll be really happy if I see Delano Banton signs elsewhere just because it means, like, oh, Cronin's going to have to actually sign a new player.
He has to pick up his phone.
He has to do some work. You know, he's probably on a beach somewhere doing it.
Wake up.
Telling his assistant GM, go find somebody to fill the 14th roster spot with. And don't tell me who it is until training camp. I'll find out then. But at least it'll be somebody new. At least we get something new. I'm down for the show, but making the show for the signing off pass. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I like using this this graphics package at least. That's why I wanted to go live yesterday. I'm not gonna waste the work. So, it'd be cool to update the cards as the season goes on, too, as well. These team cards that we have. So that's probably something I'll do, and we can use them.
The City of Sweet says, I think we signed a Summer League guy. Yeah, maybe we're just waiting to see some. Find out who a Summer League gem is. Find our Antonio Blakeney.
Yeah, maybe. But yeah, we'll have you covered if anything happens. And our next stream, otherwise, will be on Monday night. When we have Summer League games, we do not generally stream. At least for our Monday, Thursday show, we just stream during Summer League games. So next week, we'll have Monday, Thursday, the 7th and 10th. And then when Summer League starts, we'll stream the 11th, Friday the 11th, Saturday the 12th, Tuesday the 15th, and Thursday the 17th. And then if there's a 5th game, we'll have like a 5th game that weekend. And then the 21st of July, we'll be back to Monday, Thursday, the rest of the off season. So it's basically 1 week. We won't stream Monday, Thursday. We'll just stream Summer League games. And one of those games is on a Thursday, so that's our schedule coming up. Anything else, Eric?
And for a couple of those weeks, you'll have guest host or solo.
Which weeks? When are you gone?
The first 2 weeks of August.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. And maybe I'll take a week off. We'll see. But yeah, we'll keep you posted. Anything else you want to talk about, though?
No, thanks everyone for watching. Tori's got hot plans, I guess, at 10:30, right?
No, I want to go to Fred Meyer.
You want to make it before they close?
All I've had today is Nectar Juice Bar. I had a peanut butter smoothie bowl, which is really good, by the way. I recommend. But, yeah, I definitely want to get some food. So, yeah, I'm going to go to Fred Meyer.
You going to a grocery store is an upset.
What do you mean an upset? I go to Fred Meyer all the time now.
I know now it's different. You're a little
now I'm
family man at home.
Yeah. Now I'm old, and there's your ringtone. Is Tori a hipster? No. I miss DoorDasher Tori. What do you miss about DoorDasher Tori? What is DoorDasher Tori on stream? The hat. You bring back the hat. Winco is so much cheaper. Yeah, but it's further away. And I like Fred Meyer. And there are fireworks popping off. I don't know if you guys can hear them through the mic. Is your source telling you some news? That's a great question. Is that your ringtone for your source, Eric?
No, that was actually Rich. I was like, who the heck's texting me at this late night? It's Rich.
Why is Rich texting you and not texting in chat?
I don't know. Maybe he forgot we were on or something.
Brutal. I miss when Rich was here.
He texted me like he was Joe Croto. Do you want me to read it?
Sure. We'll end the stream with
so keep in mind, this is not him talking. This is what he thinks Joe Cronin's going to say. We were very active, had a lot of calls, a lot of conversations with a lot of people. We just didn't get there on any deals we particularly liked. But we were certainly active and aggressive with our free agent calls, and we feel really good about how they went. That's all he texted me.
He just texted you that. No context.
Yeah, no context, no.
That's funny. New segment idea. What would Joe say? See, I don't think he wants to... At this point, I don't think he wants to say he was aggressive and didn't get anything done, because that just makes him look like a failure. It'll be a lot of like, we're not going to make... Basically along the lines of, we're not going to make a move for the sake of making a move. We're going to wait for the right opportunity and to get this roster better, and we're happy with what we have. That part's definitely correct, but it'll be basically more so like, no, the right opportunity just didn't come along.
I really want someone to ask him the next time he's available what happened to those seeds you planted.
Yeah, what happened to the free agent battle and planted seeds that you talked about before? Maybe the Drew thing was a seed that was planted and sprouted into a tree. And now we have
Zero
Drew.
chance. There's no way. Boston knew that they were going to fail in the playoffs and Tatum was going to get an Achilles.
I mean, they kind of knew that they were going to cut salary, right?
I don't know if you win another chip, dude.
Yeah, they got new owners.
But
just be like, cool,
I mean, they could have
cool,
gotten there with Porzingis trade and kept Drew.
Yeah, but the seed planted could have been, yes, and if you guys trade Drew, we would like him. And, you know, we have Anthony Simons. And then come the offseason, Boston's like, all right, fine, we'll do it. Cronin's like, yes, and then he trades for Drew. And then a bunch of people are saying, like, why did they do that? He's a terrible contract. And then Joe was like, damn. I'll play it off. I have until July 6th to come up with a way to pitch this as perfectly as I can to the fan base. Thank goodness the trade can't go through until July 6th.
Oh, yeah, he's got to talk about that. I was thinking maybe his thought process is, you know, if I don't make a move, then I don't have to have a press conference because I didn't sign anyone.
Yeah, no, he has to have that press conference still, so might as well make a move. We'll have you covered if they do. Appreciate you guys. Go ahead.
Which reporter is going to awkwardly ask Drew if he wants to be here? Fentress.
God, I'm sorry, but Fentress's questions, man. They're kind of funny. Like, he has some weird questions.
Do you yell when you make a defensive stop?
Why do you yell when you dunk? Anyway. I wouldn't know. I don't yell when I dunk. Mostly because I'm just surprised. But yeah. Anyway, we're out of here. Hopefully you guys have a good rest of your night. Hopefully you guys have a good 3-day weekend. Stay safe over the 4th of July if you're celebrating. And enjoy the rest of your Thursday night. Probably have a couple videos coming this offseason. There's a couple that have been edited about like the Drew trade that I still need to drop and keep forgetting. So stay on the lookout for that stuff. Hit the like on the way out of here. We greatly appreciate it. Subscribe if you're new. And we're out of here. We will catch you next time. Until then, as always, peace out. Go Blazers.